All right, welcome to Threat Level Noon. That's right, where we discuss The Office. I hope that all of you were able to watch our previous 2 episodes. If not, please take a look at those. Just give those a listen. Today we're going to be talking about episode 3, Healthcare, another one of my favorites in season 1 and actually in the series overall. So with me, as always, I have my 2 co-hosts, and to start off, let's talk to Michelle. Michelle, say hi.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I spend hours and hours of my time watching sitcoms, one of which is, of course, The Office, because it's amazing.
Yes, it is. And with us, as always, is Andrew Runyon. Andrew.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here today.
And we are so glad to have you. So as we talked about before, we're going to be talking about episode 3, Healthcare.
For healthcare, I don't have quite as much historical information to talk about, because since it's kind of mid-season, and there's not really any specific qualities that make it particularly groundbreaking. There's other episodes that have that quality, but this one doesn't as much. In terms of the ratings, Healthcare did about the same as the previous episode, Diversity Day, which meant that it did fairly well, about 5 million viewers, because it was still on Tuesday nights. Fun fact for what was happening at the time, so this episode premiered on April 5th, 2005. The number 1 song was still Candy Shop by 50 Cent.
My goodness.
Which is like a fine song, but it feels like it's been on the charts for far too long.
For those of our loyal listeners, we will never be playing that song on this podcast, so no need to worry about that.
Oh no, you don't have to worry. We won't be playing that song. It's fine, but it's not that great. It's been in the number 1 for too long so far.
Yes, I agree. Hopefully we can get away from that soon.
I hope so too. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of a recap of the episode.
Yeah, so we start out by Michael explaining that he has to pick a new healthcare plan for his employees. During this, he compares himself to quite a few people. You know, he says that he gives them money, gives them food via the money, but he's also their doctor. That's confirmed. That's real. He is their doctor. There's no question about that.
Does that make me their doctor? Yes. In a way. Yeah, like a specialist.
So he chooses the gold plan. Of course, that's ridiculous. Not even Jan is on the gold plan. Michael clearly wants no part of this. So he gives it off to Jim, who also doesn't want it, and then Dwight ends up with the responsibility of picking the plan. He then sets up his temporary workspace in the conference room. I think a huge theme of the show is making sure Dwight feels inferior to everyone. I think that's a lot of what Michael does. You know, assistant to the regional manager, Dwight's temporary workspace. I mean, he clearly thinks that Dwight is like lower than dirt, and Dwight is totally accepting of this from Michael because he just doesn't care. So Dwight picks the crappy dirt cheap plan with no benefits. Ultimately, Michael gets bombarded with complaints from everyone, so he tells Dwight to fix it. He gives everyone a form and tells them to write down their diseases, breaking an infinite number of confidentiality laws, just so many. This brings us to the funniest scene in all of season 1, in my opinion. I know that we will dive into this a little later, but I love the scene where they are reading off the diseases, and, you know, I will now read aloud your selected diseases, and wow.
Leprosy, flesh-eating bacteria, hot dog fingers, government-created killer nanorobot infection.
Some other stuff that's worth mentioning is that Michael says that there is a surprise. He tries a couple of different things, but ultimately doesn't get anything other than ice cream sandwiches, which, not a terrible surprise, not gonna lie. I mean,
I would have been happy with it.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't have been great, but, like, you know, at that point.
I think part of it is he's put all of his effort in getting ice cream sandwiches instead of picking the plan.
Yes, yeah, that is very accurate. So now we'll just kind of talk about our thoughts about the episode. I really liked it. I think it's another kind of really important episode for The Office, just establishing different character types, different, you know, dynamics between the characters. You know, right in the middle of season 1, like we said before, this came in mid-season, so we only have 6 episodes in the first season. I think this is kind of a really important one. But I also think it's a really important episode for Dwight, because I think up to this point we've had a lot of Michael moments, we've had a lot of Jim and Pam moments, we've seen Kevin, like we talked about last episode. I think this is kind of Dwight's, you know, episode. Michelle, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. This has always been one of my favorite episodes of the first season. I've always really loved the dynamic between Jim, Pam, and Dwight. Like, I think them as a trio kind of working against each other and contrasting each other, but then working together is just so fun. So I love that this episode is kind of focused around that dynamic, since it's one of my favorites. And I think it kind of goes along with what you were talking about, in that this is where we really get to see Dwight's personality shine. And I think that two of the main characters that we really, when people think about The Office, two of the first ones they think of are Michael and Dwight. And we've already kind of gotten our introduction to Michael, and I think this kind of gives us a better grasp of like who Dwight is and how crazy he is. And I think probably one of my favorite moments in the episode is when Dwight says that he can raise and lower his cholesterol at will, to which Pam asks, why would you want to raise your cholesterol? And Dwight says, so I can lower it.
Of course.
Exactly.
That's my favorite.
Doing things that are pointless just for the sake of doing things is perfectly summed up by Dwight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Andrew, your thoughts?
I agree with you guys both that this is very much an important Dwight episode in establishing his character, his like general outlook on life. When he's describing his superior brain power, superior genes, and also the whole reasoning for picking the healthcare plan that he did is that sort of survive in the wild. There is no healthcare.
Yes.
It's like as if that's pertinent somehow to the office situation that he's in.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, and just so much of Dwight's character reminds me of, and I think this is one of the key things that's so loved about The Office, is it reminds me of a person I know that I went to middle school through high school with, and like it's just uncanny. Sometimes I cannot even not see the person I'm thinking of whenever I see Dwight. Like, and it's sometimes it's scary. Like it was almost like they followed him around to make this character. Yeah, and I think that's also like the ability to say, "Hey, that's just like somebody I know." With the other characters is one of the things that makes the show good.
Well, and that's a big thing of The Office. I know I've expressed this opinion before, maybe not on this podcast, but overall, I think one of the biggest parts of The Office, and one of the reasons why I love it so much, is that I think we can see a little bit of ourselves in every character,
definitely.
and we can kind of see, you know, how that character reacts to certain things, and you're like, oh, maybe I would do that, maybe I would do that differently. But I think ultimately we have something to learn about ourselves from every character. And I think this is kind of a really good Dwight episode for that. Just kind of like, you know, we can see how he reacts to these things. And we're going to do our hot takes a little bit later, but I have a pretty groundbreaking hot take for this episode.
Groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking.
Wow.
Before that, we're going to be playing our first game of the episode.
Oh no.
Our first game. So, to those of you who have been listening to all our episodes so far, Andrew has been smoking Michelle at these games, except for the Italian Chris Rock Kevin impersonation. Alright, so here is the game. So this is obviously healthcare, and my favorite part of the episode was when they were reading the diseases. So here's what I did. I have looked up and invented some weird diseases. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the name of the disease, and you have to either tell me if it's real or fake, and then if it's real, you have to guess what it is, and then if it's fake, you have to make something up. Does everyone understand?
I can do that, yeah.
Alright, so Andrew, since you are on a roll, we will let Michelle go first.
Okay.
Pick a number between 1 through 8.
4.
4. Auto brewery syndrome.
Okay, so I've
Is it real or made up?
Okay, so wait, I've heard of like, there's a thing, I think this is a real thing, where you can have in your stomach, because of certain enzymes and stuff, you can brew alcohol in your stomach. It's like a thing. So I'm going to go with true.
It is true.
Wow.
And that is exactly what the disease is. I am impressed.
That I'm impressed.
That is remarkable. Okay, so Michelle is up 2-0. Andrew, pick a number 1 through 8 that is not 4.
5.
5. Okay. Polydactylism.
Yes, that's a true thing, I think.
That's true. That is a real disease.
I've
What is polydactylism?
definitely heard I've heard polydactylism. I don't know where I've seen it or heard it, but I don't really know what it is. I'm just going to say whenever you have multiple of something you're not supposed to have, what is that thing? I'm just going to say when you have multiple hands. More hands than what you're supposed to have. More hands than what you're supposed to have.
I don't know if it's even possible to be born with multiple, like 3 hands.
You can be born without.
Polydactylism is when someone has an excessive number of fingers or toes. So you were close. You had the idea. We'll just give you the 1 point for being a real disease, but you were close. Polydactylism. I hope that no one who's listening to this is a polydactylite.
Probably just polydactyl.
I like polydactylite a little bit better.
Polydactyl.
Yes. Okay, Michelle, 1 through 8, not 4 or 5.
8.
8. Saturday night palsy.
That's not true.
Saturday night palsy.
is fake.
It is real.
What?
Saturday night palsy is real.
What is...
I'll give you a chance to guess if you want. I don't think you're going to get it, but it's okay.
Narcolepsy, where you just fall asleep a lot.
No. It is when you fall asleep with your arm over the armrest of a chair and you compress the nerves and lose the ability to feel your arm.
That can happen? That's horrifying!
That's real.
Oh
Like permanently lose it?
Yes.
Wow.
What?
Because I've had that happen momentarily before.
Yes.
Then I'm like, ugh.
Yes. So, hopefully, really hopefully no one is a Saturday night palsy. Alright,
That's
Andrew.
really sad. Oh my goodness.
1 through 8, not 4, 5, or 8.
7.
7. Water elf disease.
Water elf disease.
Real or fake? Water elf disease.
That has to be fake.
It's real.
Oh my gosh.
Water elf disease.
Who wants to be told they have water elf disease?
Not me.
Water
Well, it
elf
could be worse. It
disease
could be
is
fire elf
real.
disease.
I'll give you a shot to guess it. Good luck. Those of you who are listening, I hope you're playing along and also guessing what water elf disease is.
Well, I'm going to guess that water elf disease is maybe you... I know that there's some sort of bacteria that can cause a brain aneurysm in swimming, so I'm going to say you get infected by some sort of elf. But it's not an elf, it's a bacteria whenever you're swimming.
Yes, okay. So catching water elf disease results in painful and itchy red sores, blackened nails, fever, fatigue, and watery eyes. Sufferers believed it was caused by witch's stab or spell.
Witches stabbing you?
Yes, that's what they believed.
Have you been stabbed by any witches lately?
I feel like you'd notice.
If you or a loved one has been stabbed by a witch recently, you might have contracted water elf disease. If that has happened, go ahead and contact me, because I'd like to know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Michelle.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, or 6?
2.
2. Laughing death.
Ooh, doesn't that happen to Mary Poppins? Doesn't he laugh himself to, or does he eat himself to death? Shoot, I don't remember.
Real or
It
fake?
was an inside joke between my friends. Fake.
It's real.
Are any of these fake?
Laughing death is real.
You avoided my question.
I mean, I'm not going to
Okay, so laughing death.
tips on how to do better at these games.
Okay, so laughing death would be when you choke because you're like laughing too hard and it causes you to stop breathing.
Yes, that is
You
true.
die.
And you die. Laughing death is dying by laughing, believe it or not.
I mean, I can kind of see how that happens because sometimes when you laugh really hard, and you know how sometimes you get kind of panicked because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not breathing. I'm like, can't do anything.
Like the person who was sitting behind us at Avengers who was laughing and choking the entire time.
It's like they died laughing.
Ridiculous. Right? I was about to kill them
like Joker
because
gas.
they were laughing. Okay, Andrew, you're losing 3-1. You're losing your first game here. 1, 2, 3, or 6?
6.
I did too.
Yeah.
1, 3, or 6?
Yeah, 6.
6. Amorphous gluteus syndrome.
I know what that sounds like, so I'm going to say it's real.
It's fake. I made that one up.
Dang it.
So there are fake ones. I made that one up. Andrew. Oh, losing it, buddy.
I know.
Does that? Oh, is he guessing what it would mean?
You feel free. You can.
Did you make up a?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't make up anything.
Well, then I can't get the point. So I was going to say it's when you're,
Yeah,
it's when your butt is misshapen in a very
I mean, that would be the
peculiar
obvious choice there.
That's good though.
Thank you. All right, Michelle. 1 or 3?
3.
3. Clinomania.
Clinomania. Is that spelled with a K or a C?
C. Would you like the language of origin or?
If it's with a C, I'm gonna say it's fake.
It's real.
Oh.
Clinomania is real.
Okay.
Take a stab.
Clinomania is when your feet, your nerves just don't go to your feet.
Where do they go?
Like they don't.
Where they go, nobody knows.
Like like the nerves just aren't there. Like you just don't have them in your feet. That's clinomania.
No, I think that's just being disabled, but okay. Clinomania is the excessive desire to stay in bed, and I may or may not suffer from that disease.
Exactly.
It's a syndrome. It's pretty bad. All right,
Yeah,
Andrew,
pretty bad if
you have to get 2 points here.
All right.
Foreign accent syndrome. Foreign accent syndrome.
Well, the only chance I have to win is if this is true, and I also guess what it means. So I'm just going to say it's true.
It is true. It is true.
All right. Foreign accent syndrome. I'm going to say when a person spends a certain amount of time in a place that's not their original origin, and they forget how to speak in their original like accent, or they just acquire the accent so they can't speak like an English person goes to Spain, then they develop a Spanish accent and they can't go back to an English accent.
That's a good guess, but it is incorrect.
Ooh, can I make a guess?
Sure.
It's like, so if you have multiple personality disorder, it's like that, but you have just multiple accents. You can't lose them.
That might
Somebody
just
brings
be,
in a pizza, you're like, it's a pizza pie!
Wow.
That might just be multiple personality disorder.
That might just be what you suffer from. Okay. Foreign accent syndrome is a rare medical condition in which patients develop speech patterns that are perceived as a foreign accent that is different from their native accent without having acquired it in the perceived accent's place of origin.
Oh.
So it's usually caused by a stroke. So if you have a stroke and develop...
I've heard of people getting that. Yeah.
Which is weird for me. And Michelle, congratulations on your win.
Now they always say congratulations. Work so hard, forgot how to vacation.
She got me.
She gotcha.
Heck yeah. Woo.
Got him.
I've been excited for this segment for a little while now. We are about to do some hot takes.
Hot take.
Oh, we got it. Hey, we got it. Oh, we got it. Hot takes. Oh, we got it. Oh, we got it. Yo, we got it. Hot take. My hot take is, it's a pretty controversial one, I think. And I know I've had a lot of really big arguments with a lot of Office fans about this. Jim is a jerk so far. I think Jim is such a jerk in these first episodes. Okay, I'll explain specifically for healthcare. So, he started off, Michael offered Jim the opportunity to pick the healthcare plan. Jim said no. And he specifically requested that Dwight do it. I'm not saying that all of this is on Jim, but like Jim literally suggested that Dwight should be the one to pick it. Obviously, Michael should have done it, but Jim suggested it. And then at the end of the episode, we see Jim getting frustrated with Michael at the end, flipping his tie and his bag out because he was mad about Michael for, doing what he did. Yes, so at the end of the episode, Jim gets really frustrated at Michael for everything that he did. But ultimately, was this not Jim's fault? I mean, it's not like we should have expected Jim to be the one to pick the healthcare plan, but like, honestly, we've seen Jim react to Dwight so negatively, and we haven't really seen any good reason why. I mean, yeah, Dwight's annoying, but like, we all have to deal with annoying people in our lives. So, I love Jim, don't get me wrong. Jim is great in the later seasons, but I think right now, Jim is a terrible person.
Well, that's actually what I was going to say is, it's weird because as it goes on, you get more and more reasons why Dwight kind of deserves to be, picked on. Yeah.
More or less. I honestly, I think we get more reasons as to why Dwight is acting in the way that he did.
Yeah,
given his
do.
whole family background and, everything that happened to him as a child. Yeah. I think we get more reasons as to why Dwight acts the way that he does than why Jim does.
But in these first 3 episodes, we get very few things of Dwight really being annoying. He does the little tickets to the gun show thing.
The paper shredder, yes.
The paper shredder. The paper shredder, I think, is one of the more annoying. I would actually qualify that as being worthy, picking on him back type thing. But a lot of it isn't that we see in these first couple episodes.
But also too, it's Dwight's willingness when given the opportunity to pick the healthcare plan, he picks the lowest one. We get you can get kind of an idea of from what he says why he's doing it. It's just the idea that Jim is constantly, he doesn't take his job seriously. He doesn't want all this extra responsibility. Dwight is always looking for extra responsibility. He sees it as a bonus.
But to that point, Dwight is always trying to improve. He's always trying to grow himself into either a better Dunder Mifflin employee or have more responsibility and more power.
Or at least his version of it.
Yes, he wants to be manager of the branch. I mean, that's honestly. That's probably one of the biggest storylines of the entire Office is Dwight wanting to be the manager. Yeah. And all that we have is Jim getting everything handed to him. Yeah. For doing almost nothing. I don't know. In these first couple episodes, I think Jim is really a jerk.
And I will say, too, that part of the reason it goes so wrong with Dwight having to ask them what their thing is, what their diseases are, is because Jim and Pam don't take it seriously. And really, the opportunity that Dwight gave them to just write down their diseases was not it's not good. Like it's like he still shouldn't have been doing that, but it's not near as bad as what it ended up being. And the only reason it ended up being that is because they did it, and that was just to get on Dwight's nerves.
I agree.
What's the name of the guy who comes later and can't stand Jim?
Oh, Charles Minor.
Charles Minor. I think that you don't really get a payoff of that kind of being an underlying theme until we get like Charles Minor and stuff, where there's this dislike of Jim. I think it's just because he's so charming and nice that everybody's just like, oh well, you know, they kind of give Jim a pass to do whatever he wants. So, but that's not going to come back to bite him for a long time.
And it really doesn't even bite him there.
No, not in the end.
We're getting way ahead of ourselves, but
yes,
honestly, I think that Jim is a huge jerk in these first couple episodes, and I think that this episode in particular is a great example of Jim like having the opportunity to do something the way that he wanted to do it, and maybe it was effective, maybe it wasn't, but he was still the one responsible for it, and then he just didn't do it.
But then we do get to see. I mean, no, this is much later, but we do get to see Jim start to embrace more leadership roles and like that sort of thing, and start to try to make a difference. But like at this point in time, he's even said it like if this was his career, he'd have to throw himself in front of a train. So that's just how he feels about the whole thing in general.
Yeah. So that's my hot take, and I think that is a pretty hot take.
Yeah. Steel hot.
Yes, Michelle.
Okay, so my hot take is that one of the best scenes in this episode is one of the deleted scenes. I think it's a shame that they cut it. I really like the one where Jim and Pam are going through the different fonts that Dwight was using for his Dwight Schrute workspace and all that. Like, the names and fonts that they were going through. I love that scene, and I wish it wasn't cut because I think it's really good. It would have really added to the episode.
I agree.
My hot take is the small little moment between Kevin and Angela. There's so much character, like representation, character building in that one little moment where Kevin can hardly contain his laughter just at the idea of Michael having to go to the bathroom, which is a juvenile like thing to be like that broken up about. And then Angela takes it completely the other direction, saying that's inappropriate. Like the idea of somebody using the bathroom, even though it's something everyone does. It's like it's both of their character, the same thing in a little tiny moment. Both of their characters really shining through right there.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. At this point, we're going to play our other game of the episode, which is a trivia game. We had Michelle win the last one, so we're going to let Andrew go first on this one. I have 4 questions and then a second part to the game that we'll get into in a little bit. All right. Question number 1. Andrew, who is on the other line when Michael calls to ask about the coal mine? When they're asking you to drop him down and take a spin on your big ride, who is on the other line?
Because I don't know.
You want a multiple choice?
Yes.
Yes, so the multiple choice, obviously, if you do it without the multiple choice, you get 2. With the multiple choice is 1. If you go for 2 and you miss it, then the other person can do it and get 1. Yeah. All right, option A, Creed. B, Toby. C, Devin. D, Kevin. Or E, Oscar.
I'm going to say Devin.
That is incorrect. It's actually Creed. Creed was on the other line of this. So this was actually Creed's first speaking part. We saw him in other scenes. We've seen him in the background and stuff, but we've never seen him speak. And this was his first uncredited speaking part. He was on the other line of that.
Okay.
And it's even more clear than one of the deleted scenes they have, which is just a more extended cut of that thing. But you can clearly tell it's Creed. All right, Michelle, still tied 0-0.
Okay.
Which comic does not get mentioned this episode? A, Robin Williams. B, Bob Hope. C, Drew Carey. Or D, Ryan Stiles.
Ryan Stiles.
That's incorrect.
Who was it?
Ryan Stiles and Drew Carey both get mentioned at the very end when they talk about whose line. Robin Williams gets mentioned when Michael's like Borg from Spork, which was his comeback to Nanu Nanu. Bob Hope was not mentioned in this episode.
He mentions Bob Hope in a different episode.
He does.
I think that's why I kind of got it confused.
He does. Bob Hope is one of his 4 heroes.
With probably God.
I guess the 4th would be God. Question number 3, and Michelle alluded to this earlier, so it's good that Andrew gets this question. In a deleted scene, Pam and Jim go through Dwight's trash, and they see signs that Dwight made for his makeshift office. Which of the following is not one of those signs? A, Dwight's workspace. B, quiet, Dwight Schrute working. C, Dwight's room. D, Schrute space. Or E, Dwight Schrute privates. Which is not
One that they found in that.
One that they found in his trash.
I'm gonna go with the first one because I'm pretty sure that's what they actually have hanging up.
Dwight's workspace is in the trash. Dwight's workspace.
It's C, right?
It is C, Dwight's room. All of the other ones, including Dwight Schrute privates, he considered putting up on the wall. So, yes, I agree. That is one of my favorite deleted scenes.
But
it's a good one.
Dwight's workspace is the one that's hanging on the wall.
But it was in a different font.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what the font was. I don't remember.
Fonts are not that important to me, so.
But I meant not the name of the font, but because they were talking about how the different one, some of them were really bold and some of them were fancy, curvy and stuff.
Okay, so one of those things that was in that trash can was Schrute Space. Now, Michelle, this is your question. I don't know if you knew this or not. Schrute Space is the name of Dwight's blog.
Right, yeah, that they had on NBC.
The blog can actually be visited. So I went there, and there is a whole section on Schrute Facts.
Of course.
Which of these is not on that blog of Schrute Facts?
Okay.
A. Dwight can raise and lower his cholesterol at will. B. His feelings regenerate at twice the speed of a normal human being.
Okay.
C. Dwight's superhero name is Irrigation Man. D. Dwight owns several pairs of fake ears. Or E. Dwight has his own language called Shrutinese.
Shrutinese.
Which is not a fact listed on Schrute Space.
Shrutinese is not on the website.
It is.
It is.
Dwight does have his own language called Shrutinese.
Of course he does.
Dwight's superhero name is not Irrigation Man.
Didn't quite ring the bell for me. I can't remember what it is, but...
It is not Irrigation Man. Okay, so we're still tied at 0-0.
Okay, good.
Which is... Okay, that's okay, because we have a second part to this trivia game. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back and forth. You each have 30 seconds to answer. There are 9 diseases that were submitted to Dwight that we saw.
Okay.
Okay, you each have 30 seconds to answer going back and forth. Once you name it, it's out. You have to name a different one, obviously, at this point.
Okay.
Andrew, you're first. 30 seconds.
Leprosy.
That is one of them. Correct. Michelle.
Mad cow disease.
That is another one. Andrew.
Anal fissures.
That is correct. And if you get one wrong, you're out. Michelle.
Spontaneous dental hydroplosion.
Very nice. Andrew.
Flesh-eating bacteria.
Very good. Michelle.
Is this just the fake ones?
Just the ones that were submitted to Dwight.
Depression.
Depression was not submitted.
Oh, dang.
Depression was not submitted. Oh my goodness. Ebola was another one. Hot dog fingers.
Government-created killer nanorobot
infection. Inverted penis. And dermatitis from Ebola.
Yeah.
Yes. So, the winner is Andrew! Congratulations to Andrew yet again for taking another one of these trivia games. We're all very proud of you. Kind of proud. Not really, but a little bit. Enough. Okay.
Proud of you.
Alright, so to round out every episode, we do the Dundies of the episode.
Say it with an accent.
And to start off, we'll have the best reference. Andrew?
Alright. I went back and forth between the best reference being the Whose Line Is It anyway, but I feel like I was giving too many of the best references to Michael because that is something that they incorporate into his character, and I thought one really just funny, quick reference that they had was Count Choculitis.
Yes.
He's like, really, Jim? Why'd you write that? Do you know it's because I like Count Chocula? And Jim's like, you do? And obviously that's a reference to the General Mills cereal, Monsters. It's one of the Monster cereals.
Yes. Count Chocula is a pretty good cereal,
yes,
I have to say. Yes. I don't even really like chocolate, and Count Chocula is a really good cereal.
It's really good. I love it.
Yes. The best line that I had was hot dog fingers. And I really, really liked that line because when they panned over to the accounting department after they said hot dog fingers, they were laughing. And that was like an actual break for them. Mm-hmm. Like they were actually breaking and laughed. And the producers just liked it so much that they kept it in. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Stanley right after that. Yeah. But I think hot dog fingers is hilarious, especially since of the recent craze where it was like hot dogs or legs. Like you could do hot dogs or fingers, even though they don't look anything similar. But it's okay. The best confessional I thought was Michael explaining that if Dwight succeeds, it's like all because of Michael, but then if he fails, like, it's Dwight, it's Dwight's fault, That's it's really indicative of who Michael is as a person. I thought that was just kind of a really funny confessional for him. I had to give the best character to Dwight. I think this is really Dwight's episode. I think we learn a lot about Dwight, about how Dwight interacts with other people, and how he acts. overall, just kind of, how he works a little bit. Even though, like I said before, Jim is a jerk to Dwight, Dwight still tries, I think, honestly, Dwight still was trying to do a decent job for somebody.
Yeah.
Dwight says he never gets sick, which we find out later in the series is not true.
Yeah.
He's had other, sicknesses and diseases. But I think that this is definitely a really good episode for Dwight. Yes, so those are our Dunnies of the episode. Overall, I really, really like healthcare. More than the pilot. Maybe not quite as much as Diversity Day, but I really like healthcare.
That's how I'd rank it as well.
Yeah. Just, a really good episode. I think we learn a lot about all the different characters and the dynamics between them. Thank you to all of you for listening to us rant about boring stuff. And be on the lookout for the rest of Season 1. And from all of us here at Threat Level Noon, bye.
See ya.